Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here again for another segment of COVID Coping with Coach Rahti. I'm Coach Rahti of Creative Calling Coaching, and we've all been coping since this COVID thing with all manner of things, all levels of life. What I have found most grounding when I come live to these twice a week events has been to use my Kabbalah deck as a jumping off point. The Kabbalah is the text of Jewish mystics that goes back, I don't know, thousands and thousands of years. And there are many different schools of Jewish mysticism. And I am not an expert, but a dear friend years ago gifted me with this deck. And it has been a wonderfully grounding tool for me in terms of getting in touch with what Jewish spirituality is, because it's not a connection I readily made growing up, even though I had a religious education to an extent. I didn't really feel connected to my Jewish heritage. I was a Hindu for a while, having moved into an ashram up in Pennsylvania. And I felt more connected to all of those ideas and all the different gods and goddesses and energies they represented. And so I imagined that in a past life, I probably would have been one of those Jews dancing around the golden calf that got smote under the rage of Moses and the Lord. So it's great to have found these teachings because, to my mind, just as in Hinduism we have the different gods and goddesses that represent different energies and mindsets, so do the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, it turns out. And there is even the element of the tree of life, which contains different sephirot, different energies pertaining to life. And so what I do preceding the episodes is I draw a card or two. And today I felt drawn to pull two. And what's amazing is that, I shuffle the deck, I spread them out, I just go for, I picked the idea. I mean, I didn't know this until I photographed it and put them, up on the computer. I saw I had an identical set. Ordinarily, I don't know ordinarily. One might say, throw them back and shuffle the cards again. No, I consider it very significant whenever I pull a card or two cards. There are no backsies. I go with it. So even though I've spoken about this pairing of cards before, I believe that I am called to delve into it a little more deeply. And so these are they. Chokmah, which is a sephirah on the tree of life, and Sadi, which is, I believe, the second to the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And I think there is a very interesting connection between these two cards. So to start with, I want to talk again about each of their significance, starting with the card on the left, Chokmah, wisdom. I love this. Chokmah, this sephirah, is about the realm of wisdom and revelation. Whereas Sadi, the letter on the right, really pertains to intuition and inspiration. So there must be something there we all need to explore a little bit. Chokmah, the card on the left, wisdom, is the realm of revelation, and it's known to Kabbalah says like a lightning flash because of its sudden illuminatory power. So if you were to meditate upon this card, you would do so if you're feeling a lack of spiritual insight and revelation, because it signals the importance of nurturing that in your life at present, in finding inspiration in your life at present through dreams, meditation, prayer, music, things that tap that inner voice are very helpful right now. It's really very linked to the imagination. Now, in terms of science, in terms of certain forms of meditation, even in the Eastern traditions, imagination is trivialized and not considered too consequential. But actually, for many Buddhists and Jewish mystics, our imagination and our capacity for imagination is sort of a vehicle for our loftier connection with the divine. So for that reason, many Kabbalistic practices involve strengthening the imagination. And there are different exercises to do that. One of them is to study this letter. So it really pertains to intuitive leaps of faith, right? Impulse. It is really about the inner essence of the soul and our capacity to experience originality in thought, which is considered to be the spark of the soul. Our mind and its purity, which we really do need to guard, at the same time must be aroused and inspired. All right? And because without that, you can't tap into your creative flow. So now let's look a little bit more at Tzadi, the letter on your right. It begins the Hebrew word for righteous, or tzaddik. It has everything to do with ethics and following the precepts of ethics. Tzaddikim are considered holy people, people whose spirituality is always shared and never secreted. They really embrace the human family. And a tzaddik is very much like a bodhisattva in the Buddhist tradition. It's one who brings down the light of heaven into this mundane world. All right. I think it's interesting that there is a perspective in Kabbalism where the cosmos was created through a process known as tzimtzum. It's pronounced, starting with the letter tzadi. Basically, in order for the universe to exist, God had to contract and withdraw to create a void in which the universe could manifest. And so in our own life, this process has relevance because sometimes we have to stop doing, we have to stop forcing. We have to meditate, relax, to allow our intuition to come forth, to allow ourselves to create effectively. In the instance of coaching, for me, to allow the client to bring forth their own answers. If you're overly directive as a coach, you are no longer coaching, you're a consultant. You're telling people what to do rather than asking the right questions. So as far as its relevance to a connection to righteousness, it has to do with charity. Giving, I think, in terms of what I was just talking about and being less forward, it has everything to do with giving space to yourself and others. So, how are you guided by your ethics, also known as values, with regard to your intuition, your vision making on your own behalf? How are your values connected to your vision? Hokmah being about values, Sadi being about vision, being about dreams, being about intuition and what turns you on. So, I love it. I think that it was important to go a little more deeply into those letters, those concepts and ideas, because there's so much noise right now. It's funny that in the last few days, I've been sent links to YouTube videos about conspiracy theories having to do with COVID. And there's a lot of anxiety and fear around vaccines and a lot of mixed messages because there is no coordinated voice from higher government guiding us. And so I think now is a real important time to be attuned to our individual values and our individual intuition, to be attuned to our wisdom and our informed wisdom, and that sense of calm that you can trust, right? If we're coming from the lizard brain, fight, flight, or freeze, we're not going to make the best decisions. So to me, the forced cloistering of this period of time has been an opportunity to shore up our inner resources for the challenge ahead of whatever the new normal will actually end up being. And I think bringing those cards forward again today, these two cards which we've explored before, Hokmah, values, ethics, Sadi, inspiration, intuition, vision. It's great that these came forward to us again because life is going to go on. People, I believe, are starting to realize this. We're 4 months into this thing. And so we're starting to see that we do have to keep moving forward in terms of thinking about our livelihoods. Maybe you do want to start a family, about being in relationship. Life is going to go on. There has been a definite uptick for me in people reaching out for coaching because at first, I don't want to spend any money. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do. But here we are, needing to access our inner resources and in some cases seek guidance to create our life from this point forward, regardless of what the external parameters turn out to be. So, I think that's the message for today. Wisdom, values. Do you know what your values are? What values? Now that's a fancy way of saying what matters to you. What really matters to you? I think there's certain things that matter to all of us, like having a sufficient baseline income to survive, certainly. I mean, that, of course, brings to mind Maslow's hierarchy of need. But beyond that, family is a very high value for many people. Humor is a very high value for many people and certainly a means of survival for some. Honesty, authenticity. Authenticity is very important to some people in terms of their livelihood, not just because they want to take advantage, they don't want to take advantage of others, but because they don't want to be in a work environment where they have to hide who they are, where they feel like they're always looking over their shoulder, right? And can't be fully themselves. So authenticity is very important to them. What's important to you? Because if you don't get quiet and really get honest about that for yourself, you won't be constructing a life going forward on a very solid foundation. So I hope you've enjoyed that further exploration today pertaining to these two cards again, Hokmah and Sadi. If you want to take a little screenshot, go ahead to go a little further in your own research. Kabbalistically, in terms of the Jewish alphabet and the 10 Sephirot, which are on your left. And I will be speaking to you again on Thursday, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern. Always open to suggestions for topics, questions, struggles. Send them my way. Meanwhile, you have a very safe and wonderful rest of the week. Bye-bye.